bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu saha viryam karvavahai tejasvinavaditam astu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May that one protect us both. May that one nourish us both. May we work together with great energy. May our study be illumined. May we not unnecessarily cavil with each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So, as you know, I was recently in France and one question arose. And for that reason, I thought I would talk on the subject that came out from this question. So for many of you, this is repetition, but there's no harm in repetition. So the subject that was presented is the role of yoga.
The role of yoga.
Yeah, the role of yoga. The question arose because of some misunderstanding about what is yoga, because in many places throughout the world, yoga is seen to be physical exercise. Either standing on your head or standing on somebody else's head.
Yeah.
This is called yoga, creating a physical exercise, focusing on physical health. How does this fit into the area of spirituality? And so, very often it helps if we take these standard terms that we use, guru, yoga, karma, etc., and replace them with vernacular terms. Instead of saying yoga, why don't we say union? That's what it means.
Mm.
So every union is a yoga. Now, when it comes to the interior life, when it comes to yoga, in order to explore the deepest issues of your own being, then we say that it can culminate in a mystical union. And so yoga is something like a mystical union that assumes that there is some separateness and has some method, practical method, not only to establish a sense of unity, because unity is really our central goal. We want a united nations. We want to be united with each other. We don't really want a separation. Even though we wage war, we don't really want it. But we have it anyway. But the goal of waging the war itself is unity, even though it may be in the wrong direction. When we have unity, we feel we have something like truth. We feel we have something like peace. And we feel we have a generalization that forms a root of everything else. So the highest generalization in physics will be to find a unified field theory where we can have a basis for every single aspect. When we come to the highest generalization, then we come to a position where we can understand everything. If we know clay, we know everything made from clay. If we know gold, we know everything made from gold. If we know the substance, we know everything else. It's not that the substance was ever disunited, but we think of it in this way. And so when we realize the final unity of existence, that realization is, oh, there was no disunity after all. So assuming that we are in a position where we have to struggle against odds, some method has to be there to unify our minds, to unify our purposes, to unify our directions, and that then creates a kind of harmony. And the next question is, why do we find disharmony?
Disharmony.
It's because we don't see ourselves in a united way. We see ourselves entirely separate. So, yoga, in the sense of this establishment of a fundamental unity of existence and its process, that's how we should take it. But what about physical exercise? Why is this also called yoga? You see, if you take all the textbooks on Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Garanda Samhita, fairly recent texts that tell us about the principles of physical being, well-being, that go back probably thousands of years, but only systematically put fairly recently, maybe 500, 600, 700 years ago. But there, both of these texts, Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Garanda Samhita, will emphasize only those postures dedicated to meditation, Padmasana, Siddhasana, Virasana, etc. And those postures, which are plentiful and we know that are conducive to physical health, it means getting a healthy spine and a good cooking section. Those two things. If we have these two things in a healthy way, then we have a good chance of regulating physical health. And the only way to move the lymphatic system around, to move the lymph around, is through bending and twisting, yoga asanas, postures. But how is this in any way spiritual? How does this serve our central purpose of unity? That was the central question. So I answered the question like this, and I'll repeat it here for the sake of this talk. You see, if we take everything in a disunited way, then we will put ourselves in a struggle position. We'll assume that we were in one area, royal entrance at the top of the head, where the universal monarch comes in, exits, and enters. Another way of looking at it then is, if this body is here for a certain functional purpose, then we can re-register it as not to us, but as God's earth car that we can drive. We don't make a mistake of saying our car is us, the door is us. And there's a principle in philosophy that you know of and that I'm repeating, that anything that is assembly of parts is not for the good of itself. Something with parts doesn't get up and have a party at night for its own good. It's there as a functional thing for some separate owner, some independent entity. We have to get used to that idea. The Lord's earth car. Then if it is there for the purpose of worship, because another way of looking at it is not just as a royal chariot, a royal car with a function and a purpose, but it is also viewed as a temple or a housing. In your own house, you'll paint the outside, you'll clean it, you'll make sure it's presentable, you'll do something in the garden. We know very well how to clean the body and keep it hygienic on the outside. What about the inside? So just as a house, we also paint and decorate it, clean it. You have to clean the body. And Hatha Yoga has a system of cleaning the body called asanas and kriyas. Asana, we put the body in several postures, making sure our cooking section is healthy, making sure that we assimilate all the food that is put in the mouth, with a great wonder, a great miracle, that something solid, something that looks like bread or fruit, becomes the tissues of the body miraculously. It's no longer separate. It becomes the same thing as the body. It becomes integrated. It performs its own yoga. It becomes united with the body. In fact, it becomes the body. So that in the Taittiriya Upanishad, we're told that there are various layers and levels and bodies, not just one body. And the physical body is Annamaya Kosha. It is made from food. Yesterday's porridge is today's body. And then the subtle portion is taken away as the mind. The gross portion, I have a fancy, comes out as the nails and the hair. So what a miracle takes place. We don't worry about it. We don't do anything consciously about it. We simply put it into the entrance and the body looks after it. Now, the Bhagavad Gita says, actually, you think the body is looking after it, but I, the Lord of this body, am digesting your food. I come as digestive fire. I am Vaishvanava.
Yeah, that's right.
I digest your food. Now, that's a moment when we really realize that several opportunities are there for great, great expression of love and thankfulness. Lord, you supplied the food. You supplied the mechanism that can relay it, the conveyor belt that brings it to the stomach area. And you digest my food and keep the temperature, body temperature, more or less constant. What a beautiful thing. It doesn't matter if I'm in the equatorial region or if I'm in the polar regions, body temperature is the same, more or less. It's the Lord that renews the cells of the body. And while we sleep, does the repair job, digests all the awkward things that we put in, never goes on strike, never demands an increase in wages, never says, I've been digesting this food for 50, 60, 70 years. Now I'm going to the Bahamas. Here's my notice. Still pumps the heart, 1 beat per second roughly, does it second by second, and knows how to do it in an efficient way. Efficient way means it pumps, it stops. It's a good lesson for the way we manage our mental states. It's a peristaltic pump. It doesn't take a permanent holiday. It rests where it can. These restful moments are because we have this avenue of time, a sequential series of seconds, blank moments, where we can consciously, deliberately insert something. We can do it with a sporting attitude. Put something useful in it. Do it the next second, do it the next second, the next second, next second. Making whole reformation of the unconscious mind, the habit level. So that the habit level is always joyful, is always blissful. When you ask such a person, do you have any problem? No. I only have solutions. Do you have any difficulties or stress? No. Everything is registered to another account, divine account. Anything that comes my way, I take it like a telephone call. Lord, it's for you. And leave it. A let go attitude like that. That means every cell of the body continues in its natural way, doesn't get upset, doesn't get into any condition of bad health or disharmony, carries on as nature carries on, as every wild animal carries on. I never met an elephant who had diabetes. I never met a giraffe that had heart problems, even though the heart has to pump the blood so high.
Yeah.
And make an arrangement. Despite that, where awkwardly to get water, the giraffe knows how to spread the legs appropriately at the right distance, bend the neck nicely and sip the water. Effortlessly. Even though it looks awkward, it's effortless. So things happen naturally. Plants and flowers grow naturally. They don't require an instruction manual. They don't require encouragement. Just basic, the nutrients which are supplied. So a let-go attitude is required. And one of the key causes of disease will be stress. Because every cell of the body takes it immediately and then takes it to the environment. So that if you hate, you'll be hated. If you love, you'll be loved. If you feel, poor me, then misfortune will come your way because thought is a suction. Whatever you think, instantaneously, all the cells of the body and all the organs, the combination of cells in the body, will take it as an instruction. So when you say, I hate, then you feed food in here. The stomach says, the master said we should hate. I hate this food. Then you bring it up, or indigestion occurs, something else happens like that. And there's a woman called Louise Hayes who has managed to identify with all your emotions positive or negative, the effect on the organs of the body. So that we can truly say a person is liverish in temperament and physically also. So therefore, if we want a steady mental state, we have to take even the physical aspect in a serious way, because it's only maintenance. You're doing nothing extra. You have to maintain your car, you have to maintain your house, you have to keep it clean. You're doing nothing extra, just pure maintenance, because it doesn't belong to you. We are renting. Krishna used to say that physical disease and so on is rent for the body. Pain, physical pain is rent for the body. We have to pay for the body. We have to expect it. Everybody has suffered physically. Some are suffering now. No doubt everybody will in the future. But you see, there's a great lesson and beauty in pain. If you can cultivate the quality of titiksha, forbearance, what cannot be cured has to be endured and registered to somebody's account, and doing it with a self-sacrificing attitude. This is the secret of people who go off and deliberately put themselves in an awkward position. We call this tapasya. And the effect of it is to strengthen the will. If you are master of the body, master of the elements, master of the mind, then everything is possible. Infinite possibilities are open to you. A great power comes to you when you strengthen the will. When you take energy and channel it in a determined direction, you get what you want. So that whatever you want, well, regardless, requires a strong desire, requires determination and dedication, these three things. You look back on your past, see what your achievements are. These were the components necessary. So make sure the mind is in equilibrium. And if you do that, this is called yoga. How do we come to this conclusion? In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we have two definitions of yoga. We find one direction described as
Sankhya.
Samatvam yoga uchyate. Yeah. So the passage comes like this: be steadfast in this practice of yoga, perform actions, renouncing attachment. Earlier we were having a discussion that when we say, Ramakrishna used to say, Gita, Gita, Gita comes out as Tyagi, 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 renunciation. But don't misunderstand it. Don't say, okay, renunciation, that means I have to give up my house, I have to give up my children, I have to give up my possessions. So this is a tamasic variation of renunciation. What are we renouncing? We're renouncing the anxious producing effects of what we do. The future orientated mind that brings in anxiety. Goal setting, setting objectives, worrying, will I achieve them? What will the future provide? And then the other way, doubts of the past. So we have to have steady mind, a state to what the Bhagavad Gita calls sthita prajna, steady wisdom. Not extremely up, not extremely down, not a yo-yo like yo-yo dieting, but steadiness, steady, equilibrium. Otherwise, you see, all our nerves will be in an erratic state. Regular food. This is the key to spiritual practice, is regularity. So regular habits, getting up at the same time every morning, going to bed at the same time every evening, making sure you take advantage of the automatic release of gastric juice by having meals at the same time, and making sure that the mind flows easily toward the object of meditation by having your meditation and sandhya at the same time every day. Taking advantage of the resources around us, namely the fact that different times of the day supply us with nature's moods. That is why in classical music, you can't play one raga that is designed for the morning in the evening, or an evening one in the morning, because the mood is different. So earlier on, when we did the arti and offered a few foods and prasad and so on, then you see before it, there was a request, let us tune our minds in. That means let us see, let us listen to that particular time of day, which is naturally quiet. When the birds cease singing, they go to their nests, everything is quiet. And how do we know when this evening time arises? Well, without watches and all the rest of it. Ramakrishna used to look when he can't see any longer the hairs on his arm, then he knows this is the time for the evening mood to occupy him, where he can tune his mind in more intensively to the glory of the self or God. And that is a yoga, a union. So equilibrium of mind. Does that mean, therefore, we should give up all activities? No, quite clearly. But the second definition also comes like this, that it is, you see, yoga karmasa kotalam. The skill in action is truly yoga. We have to engage in all activities with a nice equilibrium of mind, without any anxiety, offering the fruits of action to God, living in God's presence in this present moment, not in the future, not in the past. If we do that, then we miss this opportunity which is here. Here and now is what we're looking for. The ultimate union that we're looking for is not in a postmodern condition or 2 hours later, 2 years later. Yes, let me take up spiritual life when I'm 92. What is my lifeline? Oh, 92. That's all right. Let me enjoy life. At the last moment, I'll take it up. No, your habit level has to be changed. The earlier, the better. The youth, you have to change it. You have a better chance. Take the opportunities now. And it's not that something to get. It's right here and now. Otherwise, spiritual life itself becomes anxiety. Looking out the window, did God come? Did God? No. Next day, not arrived yet. I was expecting him to knock on the door. Nothing. So then I have to change everything, change my guru, change my teacher, change my religion. Maybe Buddhism will help. Something like that. Maybe I should try this, try that, you see. That's only called impatience. And impatience will cause you stress. And stress will translate to the human body. So yoga is concerned not only with the mind, but also with the body, because the body affects the mind. If we don't keep the maintenance going, if we don't take every measure to make this gift of the body, which is God's, not mine, belonging to him, if I don't take the measures for just bare maintenance, then when I sit for meditation, I'll be concentrating on my arthritis. What is your meditation? Today I had a nice meditation on the arthritis of my right knee. What about God? Yeah, no time for that. The body was disturbed. That is why these texts on Hatha Yoga will emphasize postures conducive for meditation. These are the great descriptions. The others are mentioned, but not put in any great detail. But they're also necessary. Because how to clean the body internally, I'll have to move the lymph around by bending and twisting, and do something for the heart as well. Walking, let's say, swimming, cycling, something like that. So this is where physical exercise comes. But you see, if you do it out of vanity, or if you do it out of body consciousness, then this is no longer yoga. Even though you may call it that, you've made a mistake. So yoga is equilibrium of mind and skill in action. It means we have to do everything absolutely efficiently, because if we can re-register this life as a kind of sport, then let's play the game well with all the equipment. Yeah, top value equipment, quality equipment. We look after it, maintain it, make sure it's in peak health and condition. And then you have a chance to live 100 years, maybe. And in that process, you have the opportunity to earn a one-way ticket called moksha, not a return ticket called reincarnation. You believe in reincarnation? Yeah, but reincarnation of foolishness, not reincarnation in any other sense. Then you see, in the philosophy of yoga, yoga is described as, you see that famous misunderstood statement, yeah, which is taken to mean empty the mind as if it were a rubbish bin. My mind is full of rubbish, I need to empty it. Oh, Swami, I can't meditate. I can't empty the mind. I can't keep it blank. Who said you should do this? Yoga Chitti Vritti Nirodha is a famous second stanza or second sutra of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras.
Yeah.
But it is the last effect. It is what you're aiming for. Because ultimately, yoga, meaning the ultimate concentration or meditation, means a condition where there's one thought in the mind. And samadhi is, when that becomes habitual, all thought is gone. If you take it in a different way, not in a supreme way, a realized way, you're talking of sleep. And as we know, if you go into a deep sleep as a fool, you wake up as a fool. No transformation took place. This is called tamas only. How do we cultivate this equilibrium of mind? We have to promote noble thoughts. Sattvic thoughts, pure thoughts, means any thought that doesn't have any sense of I or ownership or actor or profit in it. In short, no egoism, complete selflessness that we promote, a generosity of spirit. And when you are somebody like that, of steady wisdom, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, then you will spontaneously work for the welfare of all beings. That is why this samadhi is not the highest state. Working for the welfare of all beings is the highest state. That is why when Swami Vivekananda requests from his master, oh, please give me this nirvikalpa samadhi. Krishna says, oh, he is disappointed. He says, I thought better of you. I thought you'd be like a big banyan tree, giving refuge to everybody. Great work is there for you, you see, to do. You should do that. So, this yoga subject, in connection with Hatha Yoga, we can continue to say this human body has to be maintained by making sure that every aspect, in other words, accumulation of toxic material, is relieved. This is where kriyas come in. We discussed asanas. Now we can discuss kriyas. What is kriya? It is making sure that certain sections of the body that are to do with the excretion of waste matter in the body, it has to be removed, is maintained. Some typical areas, the sinus, the mucous lining, evacuation, keeping the skin healthy, making sure the sweat is another avenue to remove toxic material, making sure the lungs are working well. You can do this through systematic breathing exercises. So, toxic material is one great source of disease. I was saying in France that there's a great author, very old author, I think his books are 1913 or something like that, a man called Louis Kuhn, who studied Nature Cure.
Studied what? Sorry?
Nature Cure. He prints a book, Science of Facial Expression.
Naturopathy.
Science of Facial Expression. He says, you see, in the human body, if you don't remove toxic material, it ferments. And the result of any fermentation is the fermented material will rise up. It can't overflow because there's no cork we can take off. And so it has to either expand in the body overall or appear as a localized area such as a boil or a tumor. And so how will we know that? If there's a fermentation, it'll exhibit itself in the head and the neck. And then what we'll see is distortions there. And so he writes this book, Science of Facial Expression, saying, if I look at the head and the neck in a certain way, I can see where the toxic encumbrance lies. I can make a diagnosis. And as soon as I accelerate the removal of toxic matter in the body, what today is called detoxification, then I see there's a normalization here, and I can measure it. If I see somebody with a double chin, there's a pot belly automatically also. And we take it as a normal thing. It means if you're in a shopping center or a railway station and you see people pass by, you can see that many, many people are walking in a diseased condition and they don't know it. And then they get a surprise, a sudden heart attack or cancer or this or that, diabetes, whatever it is. Yes, all that is there in the body. Like if you have a garden, at the end of your garden, there's a cesspool, mosquitoes will be there. How do you get rid of it? You can't put DDT there. It doesn't work. You have to drain the swamp. As soon as you drain the swamp, the mosquitoes disappear by itself. As soon as you remove the environment, the disease environment, according to nature cure, then the body knows what to do. It's another way of saying God inside the body will carry on performing the functions despite your stupidity. Inside being Vaishvara, digesting your food well, loading up the train called the bloodstream, delivering nutrients, taking away the goods train that takes away all the toxic material through the lymphatic system. We're putting it in various sections, so some of it can go off as carbon dioxide in the lungs, some of it can go off as sweat, some of it can be evacuated, some go off by urine, some go off through the mucous lining, and so on. All delivered nicely so that we may be balanced, so that we may use this body in order to discover what is within it, namely the Lord of the universe. Using this instrument to do it. Cleaning the body by this yoga exercise and by these kriyas, by purification, by right thinking, by all the things that remove stress and the buildup of toxins in the body, operating the body as it is intended to be in nature itself. Then the next thing is, inside is the mind. We can reframe it, revalue it as God's sitting room, God's throne room. How do we purify that? Through prayer, japa, meditation. These are the methods. So what I say to many people here, but I said it last in France. So what is your job, people may ask? Swami, what do you do? I reply, I'm a cleaner. I only have one thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I clean the body and I clean the mind. This is called spiritual practice, and the process is called yoga. And in this yoga, we require to use the capacities that we have in the mind. So all of them require certain practice. This tyaga, this renunciation, in karma yoga means we are renouncing stress. We are doing all the activities so mindfully, with such joy and enthusiasm in this present moment, that anxiety in the future, that means results we're not bothered with. We're giving up those results. Then why is karma yoga a union? It's because it is uniting us with peace and calmness. doing in the midst of all activities that have the potentiality to be disturbing, we're uniting our minds with a sense of calmness, equilibrium in action and skill in action. This is the definition given in the second chapter. Then what about meditation? Yes, it is a yoga. We are uniting what is supposed to be the individual soul with the universal soul. And at the end of it, we realize, oh, it was one and the same. Never mind. It looks as if it's different. Let's take it in that way and make an effort to unite it. That's why it's called a yoga. Then what about bhakti yoga? Yes, we are uniting the lover with the beloved so that we are swimming in the beautiful, beautiful ocean of the bliss of joy and love, in the beauty of love, of divine love. Then what about jnana yoga? Yes, we are uniting ourselves with the unchanging, the undivided, the infinite. That is why it's also called yoga. And then, of course, the Bhagavad Gita also tells us that yoga is viyoga, the separation of the unity yoga with pain. If anybody says, I would like to invite pain, please, you see, we won't believe them. So yoga says, let me separate you from pain. Then what's the cause of pain? Well, consciousness, which is our birthright, is flowing out through the sense organs, flowing toward the objects, and the objects give us difficulty and pain. If we are able to gather all of that together by a systematic scientific process and take all that consciousness and put it in a poised position, then all the pain goes. All the problem areas are gone. So we have to systematically learn to do that. And this is done through practice. What do we mean by practice? That we also call yoga. So this practice is practice of remembrance, continuously bringing the mind back, the attention back, because we're all suffering from forgetfulness. Bringing it back to your divine nature. Practice means practice of discrimination. How does it apply to these 4 yogas? Well, in karma yoga, we have to discriminate between what causes us difficulties in all our actions. Because one of the greatest complaints in modern life is the busyness of life. And expectation will bring you difficulties. So I always give this example. Supposing you like to play football, or football, or we'll make it cricket, I suppose. Supposing you like to play cricket. Well, cricket is a physical game. It's a game of skill. Supposing you play 1 hour of cricket, you're entitled to be physically exhausted. And yet, if you sit in an office, for example, and you come back from the office and you sit down on the settee, what is wrong? Oh, I had a hard day. Well, what did you do? I sat all day and did office work. You mean the mind was working? How can you be tired? Thinking doesn't make you tired, but anxiety makes you tired. Because what I was doing, but my mind was saying, actually, instead of doing this, I'd rather be playing cricket. So this expectation of results is very easy to see when we give that up completely, when we surrender that completely. Sri Ramakrishna gives some funny examples about that. There's a bird who takes a piece of bread and flies, and all the other birds are attacking it. Only when it gives it up, drops it, is it at peace again. See? So we have to drop all of that. That is called renunciation. Giving up the effects of fruits of all your activities is karma yoga. Making sure that we discriminate what causes us anxiety and strength and what doesn't. What is good and what is not, what is useful, what is not. And then you see in Jnana Yoga the same thing. What is permanent? What is changing? What is truthful? What is not so truthful? What is absolute? What is relative? That constant discrimination going, feeling that there is a flow, a divine flow that moves through all hands and arms and eyes and heads. Seeing that positive aspect there. This is the path of Jnana Yoga. But it's only one yoga, says the Bhagavad Gita. It's not two or three or several other yogas. Because somebody practicing any one dimension or approach will cover the whole ground of experience. Whether you call it meditation, whether you call it devotion, whether you call it knowledge, whether you call it equilibrium of mind, whether you call it skill in action, you'll be an all-rounded person. Swami Vivekananda knew this. He makes an emblem incorporating all the yogas. And although in his statement, each soul is potentially divine, and he says, do this by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, or worship, if I didn't mention it, one or more or all of these and be free. But he really means all of them, because we're not one-sided. We are intellectually orientated, we are feeling orientated, we are willing orientated, and we all have the capacity to divert the attention inwardly, called meditation. All of us have this capacity. These are the dimensions of the mind. We should use it all. Be a well-rounded person. That's why the emblem has that. The cobra on the outside representing Raja Yoga or meditation. The lotus there representing devotion. And it's above the water, detached from the world. Its mind is detached from the world. Why? Because the Bhakti Yoga's mind will be attached to the beloved. And they don't have to detach from anything else deliberately. Automatically it happens. Being attracted to the Lord of the universe, every other attraction pales in comparison. Becomes something like trivial pursuit. The karma yogi, he renounces also all stressful actions, all actions that are selfish orientated. He concentrates on the action, what we now call mindfulness here and now. And every action can be done as a kind of meditation. And if you add the sweetness of bhakti, I'm doing all actions for the sake of the Lord, returning the fruits of your actions to the right owner. Christ gives a language for this. He puts the context as a vineyard. You're working in my vineyard. What will you do? And he gives a story about stewards. Stewards, the owner goes away and gives a person some money. Please look after this. So a person buries it. When the owner comes back, he uncovers it. Here's the money back. One more says, oh, here's some money. I'll go and gamble with it. Now, it's not in the story I'm elaborating, but that's the purport. Let me go and gamble it. Let me waste it. Then it's all gone. Then he has to borrow money. He gets into trouble and so on and so forth. When the owner comes back, he says, I will pay you back. He gets fired. But there's one person who takes this money and invests it and doubles it. When the owner comes back, he says, here's your money plus interest. Oh, good and faithful servant, you have served me well. And he fires all the rest. That's really a worthwhile thing. So we have all this energy and resources, all free gifts given. What will we do? We'll increase the return. Lord, this is yours. Let me do your service. Let me do all actions for yourself as an offering. Every action is a flower offering. Let me do it as a puja. If you think puja is just sitting in the shrine and everything else is not, you've missed the whole point. We are all intrinsically karma yogis. We're all doing puja on a daily basis, but maybe not taking it that way. Every action is a sacred action. Every action is an expression of divine energy that is given to us, not even borrowed, is given to us freely. Here, my child, here's some pocket money. Spend it wisely. And we waste it. Most people. So we learn to invest it wisely, and the greatest investment will be on the habit level. Let me reform the habit level in such a way that it is so tuned in to the glory of the self by constant remembrance, constant tuning, that ultimately this nearness becomes oneness. Then our job is done.
Can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
You did mention something a little earlier about mindfulness.
Yeah.
Now the point is essentially, why is mindfulness another term added to the fact of meditation? It's not very clear to me, because meditation, by definition, that is, your mind has to focus on, absolutely being focused on whatever you're thinking of.
Yes, this idea of focus has to go.
It has to be there.
It has to be.
Because without that, there is no meditation at all.
There should be no focus in meditation. No. This is a question. So did everybody hear the question? The difference between mindfulness and meditation. And the idea that there should be focus in meditation. There are two misunderstood concepts in meditation. One is focus. It's like playing one note on the piano over and over again. That's not meditation. The other misunderstanding is keeping the mind blank. Meditation is emptying the mind. No, it's not. It's an active process. It's a pilgrim journey which is done with a running internal commentary to a destination in a delightful way, so that there is ultimately a kind of unity of existence, a revelation of truth within, where only that one idea is there. That's it. Now, mindfulness means, I'll give you an example. So, tea making. You can make tea by filling a cup with hot water, throwing a tea bag in, drinking it carelessly. The Japanese don't do it like that. The Japanese have a whole Japanese tea ceremony. It becomes a meditation. That means it becomes a mindful activity. In that sense, meditation and mindfulness is the same thing. But mindfulness is in relation more to activities. When you walk, how mindful are you? Are you aware of the limbs moving? Are you aware of the foot, how it feels on the ground? Are you aware of the wind blowing on your face? Of course, here you are because it's so cold. Are you aware of the sunbeams hitting the skin? Are you aware of the scents in the air? Are you aware of the birds chirping? Now, you can't be aware of all these simultaneously. We have a faculty called attention that goes in one direction, withdraws, then another, then another. One by one, you can be mindful of all of these things. But it has to go somewhere further. We have to trace it. For it to be meditation, we have to trace it back to its source. We have to see more with a penetrating vision. What is it actually? And come to one conclusion. Lord, there you are. Seeing God in everything. And the precondition for formal sitting meditation is controlling the mind. And we do that by seeing the specialness in everything. Lord, you are here. Lord, you are there, dressed up like this, or you are flowing through all these things. Connecting everything to its source. Remembrance. This is called Abhyasa Yoga. That is constant remembrance, constant practice. Because these two things are necessary: discrimination, discernment, and practicing. Practicing non-attachment. But you see, what it really amounts to is, the positive side of it is constant remembrance. Bringing the mind back. All the time. No holiday for it. Do it with a sporting attitude. Do it with a sense of joy. Because if you don't, you're adding another negative to your unconscious mind. You want to make the conscious mind sattvic, pure. The minimum requirement will be 51% sattva, 49% other things. You can never get pure sattva. Otherwise, life ceases. Some has to be reserved for rajas and things. Otherwise, no sleep is there. No strength is there. You have to assert yourself. So some element of rajas and tamas is there. But if the majority is purity, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And that is spiritual life. That is yoga. Taking a sattvic wave to neutralize all the other waves that are damaging for us. Now, most people, and I often use the example, I'm not afraid of using the example multiple times, but two people walking on a beautiful summer sunny day. And I always say, you see, they have so many multiple opportunities for multisensory perception and appreciation. And appreciation leads to thankfulness. Thankfulness is adoration. Adoration, wonder, accompany thankfulness. And elevate the whole spirit and charge the whole body positively. So, but two people walking are probably oblivious to the whole thing. They don't actually, their eyes are open, but they don't see the trees. They don't see the flowers. Their ears are open, they don't hear birds. The ground has a certain value, has a certain texture. They're oblivious to the texture. Trees are around. They have the opportunity. How does the bark feel? Completely oblivious to it. They can look up and see a cathedral of trees. They're oblivious to it. Why is that? Because they're talking about finance, COVID, Ukraine. So mindfulness means we're not concerned with that. We can take our attention and we can focus it on something that is elevating, something that creates tremendous appreciation, accesses beauty, involves us in the intrinsic beauty of nature that is there in creation and leads us to the conclusion of a creator, or shows us a sense of play or dance that leads to the conclusion of a divine player or divine dancer, that provides us with a sense of love, that leads us to a conclusion that that divine is a supreme lover and protector, that gives us a sense of a protected field and indicates, Lord, you are our protector. We have this opportunity to do that. That is why we have the faculties we have. The use of these faculties in the direction of unity is what is called yoga, and the ultimate culmination of it, an ultimate unity of existence, where we stand as pure existence itself, pure consciousness itself, and sheer bliss is also called yoga, the ultimate mystical union. I thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.